Hi Helen, so this is where I've got to this afternoon. I'll give you a 2D drawing that will show all of the major dimensions of the room, so you can make sure that I've replicated them accurately. Excuse me for yawning, I seem to do that in every video. Top shelf, at the moment that is shown as being 400mm deep front to back. Because of this angle, I think it might be more useful to have that as a 500. It won't affect the hanging position. But I would keep these shelves here as 400 deep, just because they're going to form a nicer line along the front of the baskets there, but that is a small detail. You could also consider having these as basket shelves. Rail, okay, that's the one I want. So obviously you need a bit more space above it, but these are really good for sorting and organising small items. It's basically a flat shelf with this little 100mm upstand at the front, and you can get these transparent end caps which can also be repeated in the middle here and create sort of subdivisions, so you could sort between pants and socks, for example. The wire, now everything I've done here at the moment is a 45, but if you need to create a little more room at this end, if this is interfering with the architrave around the hatch, then what you'd have to do is trim a little bit off each of those shelves so this whole assembly can move to the left a little bit. At the moment it looks like a fairly precise fit, and the only other thing to be aware of is, yeah, I'm probably about sort of 30mm above the floor there with the bottom of those baskets, which is about right. You've got very little hanging drop there, and I will give you that measure on the 2D drawing. So we're only just squeezing in a gent's shirt there. In fact, let me just measure that hanging drop now. From the rail centre, let's just go to one of those surfaces there. And what have we got? Yeah, 90. That is sort of about a useful minimum. Rail centre to the surface below, 90cm. Not much we can do about that. You've got to fit this track as high as possible into the apex of that angle. I've shown wire baskets. You mentioned wire baskets in your notes. They are tougher and longer lasting than the mesh, but most people prefer the appearance of the mesh. I think you are familiar with the Elfa range. If you don't know what that difference is, let me know, I'll show you some pictures. So you mentioned shelves going across here. You could do that. You could get some shelves between this row, this bracket and a bracket over here. That is going to be about 800mm. That is more than I would personally like to have for a shelf span, which is why I've shown some hanging in here. And given that you've got a restricted hanging height here, I think it would be fantastic to have some longer hanging in front of the hatch, and it also means that you don't have to take any components out to access the hatch. You can just lift those clothes off or push the clothes to one side. So I think that's where we've got to. Give me your thoughts on the basket shelf. Give me your thoughts on whether you would like to see that as a 400 or a 500. Clarify whether we want mesh or wire here, and do you want anything there, or do you like the suggestion of having a longer hanging drop? Okay, I think that's everything. Speak soon.